Hey there, and welcome to Workforce Pulse, the podcast for recruitment and staffing founders who are ready to grow, scale, and shake up the industry. I'm your host, Kirutika Munusamy, and I'm so glad you're here. This is where we have real, no nonsense conversation about what it takes to build a thriving business in recruitment and staffing. Forget the fluff. We're all about strategies that actually work, shared by the people who've been there and done it. A quick shout out to our sponsor, Ambrosial Automations. At Ambrosial Automations, we are your behind the scenes growth partners. We help recruitment and staffing businesses streamline their operations, bring in quality leads, boost sales, and scale, all without the risky upfront costs. We work on a revenue share model, so we don't succeed unless you do. If you're curious about how it works, head over to ambrosialautomations.com for a free 12-month growth plan that is tailored just for you. All right, let's dive in. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Sean Connor. Sean is the co founder and chief progress officer at ForceBrands, a leading strategic recruiting firm specializing in consumer brands. With over a decade of industry experience, he leads a team of strategists and business development professionals, crafting effective hiring strategies and organizational growth plans for high growth brands. Sean, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kirutika.
The pleasure is all ours. So, Sean, tell us more about yourself, your background, and the role within Force Brands.
Yep, would love to. Um, I'll start with kind of a little bit background on myself, and then how we got into recruitment. So prior to Force Brands, I was working for the NBA Retired Basketball Players Association. I was helping former athletes find and connect with new opportunities post their kind of athletic careers. And was doing that for several years. Found a love in connecting people, helping people connect to their next opportunity. And I actually met my business partner through one of my colleagues at the MBA. Um, my business partner was actually formerly working in the beverage industry. He worked for a major distributorship. He worked for a supplier, and really had the aha moment to create a recruitment platform. And so as I learned about kind of this industry in recruitment, I also saw what was happening in better for you consumer, right? You heard about the like Vita Coco, which was building a coconut water brand. You heard about vitamin water that was growing and got bought by Coke. And so we saw this early trend of growth stage, entrepreneurial food, beverage, consumer businesses growing, and decided to launch a recruitment focused business in that segment, in the consumer segment: food, beverage, beauty, wellness, personal care, pet food, consumer tech, just a lot of these emerging industries that we saw a lot of growth within. So we launched a platform to help those businesses and those leaders connect with talent, whether it's a C-suite VP executive, which is one division, or the other division is professional management, director, manager level roles. And then we have a job board for junior to mid-level management positions. So really helping consumer businesses connect with all talent at all levels. My role in the company is kind of twofold. One, really working with investors as they think about investing in a business. Usually, those investment dollars are kind of allocated to marketing or product, but then people, right? And so, helping investors think through or strategy, what type of leadership may make sense for a $50 million business versus $100 million business or a $200 million business. Just because we've been a part of the space for the last 15, 16 years, we've seen a lot of growth in the industry. So focused on supporting investors and even leadership teams as they think about the right organizational structures to build to support their growth. The other side is, working hand in hand with our recruitment team as we identify more of those executive level opportunities, a board of director, to a CEO, to a CFO, COO. So, um, really kind of working in the business day to day on those, kind of more impactful, opportunities as businesses are looking to scale.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, what are the big trends that you're seeing in the industry right now?
Yep. Great question. I would say, I think we're all seeing the effects of just the current economic climate, right? You're seeing, the changes not only day to day, but it feels like hour to hour, if not minute by minute, right? Tariffs are off. Tariffs have increased by 25%. They've decreased, the next day, and then they've increased to 200%, right? I mean, I think that is one area we're seeing really impacts, particularly consumer businesses, as CEOs are thinking through the impact on that, right? If they're importing their product or manufacturing it in Canada or Mexico or just across the world, those really are affected in terms of their business, right? So the hiring as a result of that fluctuates, right? We're seeing more inquiries on supply chain opportunities, operations roles, as a result of that. But definitely, it's putting CEOs through through the ringer, so to speak, right? But look, I would say that's no different in terms of the experience of fluctuation in the market that we've seen in any other year, right? Last year there was a big focus on inflation, right? Inflationary costs rising. There was a looming recession at hand. The year before that, there was the focus for investors really were focused now on profitable companies, which made the bar higher to invest in those businesses. And we saw businesses slow down, which impacted hiring, right? We saw big influx of CEOs and CFOs in high demand,
Yeah.
during that market, right? So every year I think has its own challenges, but I think ultimately, the businesses that adapt quickly and make thoughtful, strategic decisions will come out ahead. And we're definitely seeing that in this market.
Got it. Since we're talking about challenges, what would you say is the biggest challenge, or could you just name few of the challenges that you see for your brand right now in the industry?
Yeah. Yeah, look, we've been doing this for 15, 16 years, and largely we spent so much time building an in-office culture. And that was like pretty special and unique to our company. I mean, it was the quintessential like ping pong table and kegerator, and we would have, in-office happy hours, and there was so much camaraderie built around that. But during the pandemic, that changed. We decided to go remote, and we found success in that, right? We found, people wanted this more autonomous work style that was associated with this remote working. We found this also efficiencies, where, people were able to just get on a Zoom call, or, kind of jump on things when needed, right? But where it's affected was all the things that truly made us special, right? It's like the camaraderie, it's the development, it's the training. And so we found opportunities to grow in those areas, right? Like simple things like our weekly all hands meeting where everyone, it's mandatory to attend, but we're asking people to essentially keep your video on,
Yeah.
right? Or trying to get in person more, to really focus on things like, training, development, or just team building. So we're trying to do that at least once a quarter. We just hosted our all company meeting, a few weeks ago, where we brought everyone together. We talked about trends in the industry. We talked about, new initiatives, things that we're rolling out with the market. We highlighted things that, from last year that I thought was, special for people to understand and hear in terms of their colleagues,
Yeah.
certain achievements they made. So we're finding success in it, but it truly has to be intentional, right? It's not
Yeah.
just getting together just to get together. It's like, getting everyone in the right mindset, to, come together, learn, share, and then go back and apply what we've all kind of worked on, right? So it's definitely new muscle that we're building. It's something that we're refining kind of daily, but it is, we're finding success in it.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, you were mentioning that right now Force Brands is working on a few of the initiatives, right? So, could you just name a few of the big initiatives that your company is thinking of in the near future?
Yeah. Because we've been doing this for so long. I mean, a lot of it, I would say, over the years has been, call it homegrown. And it's funny because what we do for other companies is we bring in impactful leaders to transform their business. And so that's what we've done largely over the last, call it, few years, is bring in experienced professionals into Force Brands to support, the development and growth for the team. And that really starts at our leadership. And so we've really transformed our leadership. We brought in, several executives who, again, have true industry experience and can help transform our culture and add a more performance based culture, right? And we're doing things like, leadership training, right? Which we've worked with a great leadership training company called Butler Street. Highly recommend them. Um, but to kind of help us think through, like, just a line on what are the codes, right? Like, what are the codes of conduct that we all are kind of agreeing on and working towards, and ensuring that we truly, have the alignment across the leaders so we can respectfully challenge one another,
Yeah.
um, but ultimately ensure that when we are, kind of going out to the company and sharing a new initiative, that it's truly been thought through, from all angles. It's been vetted, across departments, and it really impacts the organization, for the better. Um, so that's definitely something that we've been working on, and we're finding success in it. Again, it's one of those things that you truly have to work on daily, and if not, weekly, right? So when we're all coming together, so that's definitely an area that we're really focused on, is building this performance based culture, but it truly starts at the leadership level.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So, what opportunities lie ahead for Force Brands?
I would say, the opportunities, I think, with I think everyone's talking about AI, right? And the efficiencies that come from it. We often say, AI won't replace impactful leaders, but impactful leaders that don't embrace AI will be. And so we, are just at the beginning stages of finding ways to infuse AI into our own systems, into our own kind of day to day, processes. But we see a big opportunity there, and hopefully a year from now, I could kind of report back on some of the things that we're using and leveraging, that could be kind of impactful for your broader group.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we'd love to have you back again to see the progress. I mean, that would be lovely.
Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah. So, apart from that, can you tell us more about the priorities and goals you have for 2025?
Yeah. The where we see the business, I would say actually in a few years, is really being that that go to within consumer. How do we provide several services within recruitment and staffing to support businesses at all levels, right? Like today, we're mainly helping growth stage through lower middle market businesses connect with talent. But we want to expand that kind of, clientele base, right? Like I think there's opportunities to help, Fortune 500 companies as well as, businesses that are just starting. And we do, kind of bits and pieces here and there. But again, it's like, how do we think more broadly and go deeper with a lot of those partners? So that's where we're going to is, how do we offer several services for companies across the landscape? Um, and this year is about setting the business up for that, right? Like making sure we're hiring the right leaders, making sure we have the right processes, making sure we have the right leadership coaching. I mean, something we've actually implemented greatly is executive coaching across our ELT as well as our SLT, our senior leadership teams, right? How do they, cascade down, throughout the organization, things that we're sharing, and things that we're implementing, right? And how do we make sure we kind of have that funnel coming back to us about, feedback, what's working in the market, what's not working. So, all of those things we're just now implementing, um, but will set us up to develop and roll out with new service offerings that really help our clients achieve the growth they're looking for in the market.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, what is Force Brand's vision for the next 2 to 3 years?
I would say largely what we kind of just talked about. It's, expanding in our current service offerings, right? Going deeper with what we're doing now, but also additionally kind of focused on, understanding what our clients need and how do we address those needs, right? I mean, there's a stat that says by the year 2027, less than 2 years from now, 50% of the workforce will be made up of the gig economy, right? And so, if we're not navigating those changes in the market and applying services to that, I think again it's a missed opportunity. So it's how do we find several service offerings that meet the needs for our clients, that are beyond what we do today, which is mainly recruitment in the consumer space for C-suite executives to management level opportunities.
Got it. Got it. So, I would say it was a fun discussion today and a wonderful discussion, obviously, with all the insights that you shared. So, that's a wrap for today's episode of Workforce Pulse. Huge thanks to our guest Sean for sharing his incredible insights on all the topics. Now, before we go, Sean, where can people find you if they want to connect or learn more about your work?
Yeah, no, great. LinkedIn's the best, right? I think it's something we all leverage. So please hit me up on LinkedIn. Anything I can share on, growing and supporting a business that is growing, I'm more than happy to.
Great. So perfect. Make sure that you follow Sean on LinkedIn. To all listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. One more time, if you're stuck in the grind of manual processes or struggling to grow, we can help you optimize operations, bring in leads that convert, boost sales, and scale without the upfront risk. Head over to ambrosialautomations.com to get your free custom 12-month growth plan. All right, that's it for today. Thanks again, Sean. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Let's build, grow, and keep the workforce pulse alive. See you next time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us,
Yeah.
Sean.
All right. Bye bye.